So good evening, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Sonal and Dr. Nupur for giving me the opportunity to present on this platform. I will be very briefly talking about the corneal scleral tear repair. Basically, it will be a video-based learning. So what are we aiming at when we are doing a surgical closure? We are doing the prompt closure to decrease the risk of any endophthalmitis and decrease the tissue necrosis, decrease the patient discomfort as well, restore the corneal topography, and minimize the scarring in the visual axis. So these cases are pretty important for your examinations because in every practical or any written examination, they have one or the other question where they ask either about a foreign body or a tear repair. So coming to the anesthesia, we have general anesthesia in such cases because they are perforating injuries, and with the help of retrobulbar and peribulbar anesthesia, there can be increase of IOP and exclusion of any intraocular content. Facial blocks can also be employed in selected cases. So coming on the steps of the surgery, as we can see, there is an iris prolapse here, and what we have to do is we have to make a side port and then form the anterior chamber. So then after that, we have to inject a viscoelastic to form the anterior chamber and possibly get the iris tissue which is viable. I'll be talking about the iris tissue prolapse in the further slide, but coming to these initial steps, first viscoelastic injected and iris is pushed inside, and then we have to see the extent of the tear. Here we have a limbal to limbal full thickness tear. So we'll first apply the limbal sutures because it's an anatomical landmark as rightly described by Dr. Sonal. So what we have to do is we have to keep on applying the sutures, and as we go towards the center, we have to be shorter on the center. This was a well-known technique that was devised by Ropes Hayes technique of central wound closure, which is available readily in all the textbooks and articles, which everybody should read because these are very important laws and anybody can be asked in the examinations. So we can see that now we are preparing the scleral tear as well, and then whatever viscoelastic we had injected should be replaced with the help of a saline to form the anterior chamber. And also, as described earlier, we have to achieve a watertight closure, not a air tight closure. And then nicely cover the conjunctiva by repairing the conjunctiva with the Vicryl sutures. Coming to, sorry, I think I'll have to play like that. Is my video visible there?
Not yet.
Oh, I think something is wrong with this.
So you can actually, Gunjan, play from the source. If you
I'll
must
see.
have copied
I'll
it from
see.
a pen drive, that's why you have to put it in your pen drive as well.
Yeah, I have it. So yes, I'll do that.
Great animations, Gunjan.
Thank you. Actually, I played in the beginning, but I don't know why it's not playing now. Is it?
Gunjan, minimize this and where you kept your video.
So is it playing now?
No.
It's not.
We can just see your slide right.
Oh, wait. I'll. Is it playing?
Gunjan, you would have to first stop sharing the screen and then share again with the video.
Yeah. I'm doing it.
Okay, I've stopped sharing a screen. Now start sharing again, Gunjan.
Yeah. Yeah. So now is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So here we can see this is an 8-year-old female, and she had a history of falling from the bed 8 hours ago. And here we have first applied a limbal suture, and now we are applying the further sutures. We have to see that here we're not touching the area of the tear because we do not want more injury into that area, and we don't want the other tissues to get macerated so that we do not have later on a problem of closure, because there can be any destruction of the tissue that was already necrosed, because this tissue is not like a normal tissue. This is all edematous tissue. So here we're completing our corneal tear repair, and they are nicely burying the suture sutures into the stroma, because we do not want any further irritation in the kid or the patient next day. Now we are trying to see whether we have deposited the irises inside. Now we are putting the hydration so as to achieve a watertight closure. Now we are going ahead with the globe exploration so as to look for any hidden scleral tear, because in such cases there is a lot of possibility that we can miss the scleral tears. Now we can see that there's a lot of necrosis around the conjunctiva and the scleral area. So we have to be very sure that we are actually opposing the sclera with the help of the Weichel sutures, because the tissue above is also macerated and necrosed. Again, we'll just keep on wiping the blood off, because we do not want to go superficial, and we have to take nice big bites in the sclera, and we have to achieve a good closure. We have to be very sure that we're not overriding any tissue. So that is very important. And also it is not a very easy suturing, because these tissues are wound gaping is there and they are very far apart. So we have to be very gentle and we have to be very patient, as already told, because these are not like normal surgeries. We are giving patients a good globe integrity. So we do not want to rush and give patient the next day there's some wound gaping and their tissues are moving out. So we have to be very, very gentle, and we have to be very careful when we are doing these repairs. So the experience for this is very important when we are managing. Then we see here that we are already completed the scleral tear, and now we are looking that we have not missed any scleral tear. Now we're repairing the conjunctiva above with the help of the Weichel suture again. So finally, we are completing the conjunctival repair as well. And now we'll form the globe with the help of saline, because we want to achieve a watertight closure and not a viscoelastic or air closure. And the next day, we have to go for a B scan, because in perforating injuries, we are not sure whether we are dealing with any intraocular foreign bodies, or whether the retina is attached or not, as we need to explain. As you can see here, now we are completing the side port closure as well, and nicely remove the speculum, because that is also important. Sometimes in a haste, we tend to injure more tissues while we are removing the speculum. Now can you see my slide?
Yes, Gunjan, we can see your slide.
Now coming to the stellate lacerations, they are stellate lacerations because they are star-shaped, and we have to see whether we are able to achieve a good opposition. Definitely, if we pass the sutures perpendicularly here, we will not be able to achieve a good opposition of the wound. So for that, we need to have purse-string sutures that can nicely oppose the wound and achieve a good anterior chamber opposition. Again, this is not plain. So I don't know why it's not still playing. Okay. Then I'll be showing you some scleral tear as well. So now we are dealing with the scleral tear, where we have to see whether we are just dealing with some scleral tear, or we are dealing with some other tissue losses as well. Oh, I'll have to start again. Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah, so coming on to this scleral tear, here we can see this patient had a road traffic accident, and we can see there's a lot of severe injuries in the lids, and then we have to look out for a good globe exploration in such cases, because we tend to miss out deep scleral tears as well. And we can see that when we did the exploration, that the lid is injured, and the eyelashes are also present in near the tear. So now we are carefully doing the globe exploration and nicely applying the speculum for the field view. And then we just go ahead and see whether remove the conjunctiva above the tear, and just see whether we can find any posterior extent of the tear. So here we are trying to see, and we could locate the posterior extent of the scleral tear. And then we will try to oppose these tissues with the help of the suture. So we could achieve a good apposition with the help of Vicryl sutures here. And then we keep on going ahead and repairing the sclera here. And then in the end, we can see that this is a very deep scleral tear, because there's a flap-like tissue which is just above the just below the conjunctiva, and it is not a very smooth surface, it's a very rugged surface. For that also, we have to be very careful whether we are opposing it correctly or not, because you can see here we're not able to achieve the correct tightness with the help of suture. Then we have to be very gentle as well, because we do not want to injure the tissue by just tightening the knot again and again. So we have to see whether we require more sutures in that area. So we have to be very gentle. What is my golden tip is that please be gentle when you're dealing with such tissues, because if there is a loss of the tissue, then you may need to have a scleral patch graft also done, which we do not want. We can if we can achieve tightness with only the sutures. So in the end, we are closing the conjunctiva above the tear, and then nicely covering it up. And then we see then there is a water tightness of the globe. So, okay. I can't share my slide. I can't share my slide now.
We can see your slide.
Okay, you can? Okay.
None of the videos are going to work like that, so you'll have to show them from the source itself.
Yeah. So why iris tissue is prolapse is very scary, because there's a fear of infection, and technical difficulty in management can be there, and obviously the risk of sympathetic ophthalmia. This term is very important for everybody to know, because these are the terms which will be definitely asked in your exams, either as a written question or they can ask you in the viva, because it's a very deadly complication, and especially now VR surgeries are also very common, multiple VR surgeries are also common, so we should know this term very in a very comprehensive way, and also know the treatment in such patients. Various literature areas, they say that the excision of this iris tissue prolapse should be done if it's a necrotic tissue, or is it non-viable tissue, macerated, depigmented, feathery. And obviously if it's severely contaminated, then definitely we have to excise this iris tissue, so that we do not introduce any infection into the eye and cause endophthalmitis in such patients. It can be reposited with antibiotic irrigation in viable irises, where you can see that there's a recent onset injury. Some literature says that 24 to 36 hours is important for viability of the iris, but definitely the judgment lies on the primary surgeon whether they want to reposit it or not. There's a term that they say that with improved surgical techniques, technology, and pharmaceuticals, the surgeon should not be dogmatic about the 24-hour deadlines. I had one more video. I don't think I have this from primary source, so I would like to just skip that one, because I had that muscle disinsertion in that, but I think it's not playing, so let's skip that one. So with that, I am finishing it up. I like to acknowledge my mentors, Dr. Umang, Dr. Abhishek, and Dr. Abha, who always stand by with me in all the endeavors. Thank you, and thank you, Yosi and Dr. Sonal, for giving me this opportunity.